showdown breakdown time. It's a Monday night doubleheader. We're going to find those turds. Where my turds at? All right, the big dogs are back at it for another showdown breakdown. And guys, we got a doubleheader out of the ordinary for a Monday night. Random.
That's good.
Random doubleheader.
Some people think this is the way it should be forever. I don't know. Where are you guys at on that?
Two? For really?
Two.
If
Yeah.
they're going to do it, I'm down with the doubleheader, but I don't understand why you'd start a game at 7:15 and then layer the next game in at 8:15.
That's what's
It's
confusing to me.
This is a great
Yes.
opportunity to start one at 7 and then start the
9.
second one at 10 or 9 or something. I don't
That's
get
a
why
good
they
point.
overlap them, but whatever. We don't care. It did give us the fun of a 2-game breakdown, which I did earlier today. So, I like that primetime, that double 2-game slate, super fun. And the sites made that sort of the focus of the evening in terms of the size of the contest. Then you have sort of a smaller early contest that starts at 7:15. It's 5:00 now, short time. And then the 8:15 regular start for the Steelers Browns game. So let's get into these games. And we'll start with the early game. We got Saints at the Panthers. Low total game. This one has it's a 3-point spread, and under the total is 39 points. So the football gods are not expecting a lot of scoring in this one, boys.
Yeah, it's not looking like a shootout by any means, but this is the NFL, right? We thought that the Chiefs game was going to be a shootout yesterday, and it wasn't. So maybe we get some action here, but it's not looking great for either team to score a ton of points.
No. Let's get through this quickly, guys. So I want to just do a brief overview of the usage on these two teams. Starting on the Carolina side, first of all, I think we can all agree that Bryce Young was terrible in his debut. 2 interceptions. Did you just tell me that the prop for Bryce Young to throw a touchdown pass is
okay.
to not throw a touchdown pass is minus 220?
No, it was the other way around. For him to throw just one is minus 220, but under 0.5 is plus 175, which I think is a really good bet.
Okay. I like the plus.
I will say with Bryce Young, he's seen his number on passing yards actually go up about 13 yards over the last 24 hours. So he's getting some love on the over. I think he started at like 178 last night.
I think that for me, the line is shockingly close. I would have thought the Saints, and I'm not like the Saints are awesome, but I would have thought the Saints would be like a 7-point favorite, even on the road. It's weird that the number's only 3.
Yeah, I mean, they've got lots of offensive weapons here. Like Derek Carr is good. I know that some people don't think that, but I think Derek Carr is a very serviceable quarterback. He looked good last week. And this defense is missing guys. Like I'm not super convinced that this is. I like the over here, I guess, or at least I like the spread to the Saints side.
Double D's, double down.
I don't think either of these defenses are good enough.
A couple things we saw. Like we got some usage things from the Panthers last week, so we got some ideas of what the usage is going to look like. And I've got the matchups tool here from DFS Army up on screen. My favorite tool. I use this all week long for every game analysis. I basically want to remind you guys, this is a really good tool. You should be using this, right? So it shows you usage, snap percentage, all these good things from the week before, and we can get some information out of this. So week 1, DJ Shark was out for Carolina, so they rolled in Terrace Marshall at the WR3 spot. But notice that all 3 wide receivers, Thielen, Mingo, and Marshall, all got 90% snap count. That's high. That's like we don't play anybody else. Just these. We're going to play 3 wide sets every single snap for the most part.
Yeah, and that's what they did. I think, Chark is going to play today, which is going to mess that up a little bit. I would imagine that it comes at the expense of Terrace Marshall here. But, they spread it. I mean, those 3 guys were the guys along with Hayden Hurst, who played a ton too.
Yeah, Hayden Hurst was the sexy tight end of week 1. He came through at a cheap price, was the highest target share on the team. And that went along with what we were told in the preseason that Bryce Young was in love with Hayden Hurst in the red zone. I think Hayden Hurst caught the touchdown
He did
in week 1, and that's who I would expect to be I don't see this as a great game for DJ Chark. The deep ball, I don't know if they're ready for that yet. You're also going to have pretty solid coverage on the outside, and I would imagine that Marshawn Lattimore would be on DJ Chark in a game like this. No,
that's I think what it looks like if we at least in our cornerback versus wide receiver chart.
Yeah, so it's not a good spot for him. I would imagine also that Laviska Shenault's sort of role doesn't change. He'll probably get a target or two and be mixed in.
Yeah,
regardless.
I think he'll play a few less snaps just because they're, you know what I mean, with Chark being back and Marshall's going to get some, but you'll have that gadgety type play. His line is 7.5 yards right now.
One nice thing of note is the other turd, tight ends really don't get much run at all on this team. So pretty ignorable here.
Right.
As well. Running back situation. So, and I'm going to throw this one at you guys because we saw last week. First, Miles Sanders got a ton of work. Even though he only has a 57% or 60% snap count, he got a ton of work. He got the kind of workload I like to see, right? 18 carries, I think it was, multiple targets. That's exactly what you want from your running back. So let me ask you this. Do you think that Chuba being mixed in as much as he was a function of just them kind of getting blown out in week one? Or do you think that's just the mix we should expect?
I mean, I like Chuba here. I think that the price makes sense. I think that, he had 9 carries, 2 catches, so 11 touches for a guy playing that sort of snaps. He had 77 yards and didn't have a super long one. And he get a 20-yard, he snapped one off for 20 yards. But they weren't really, what was the score last week? I don't remember off the top of my head. Were they getting blown out by Atlanta?
Yeah, it wasn't a close game. Like they were losing. I don't know what the final score was. I can't remember, but I know that they were losing, and it was not like a close game. The game was out of hand.
Right.
But beyond that, I don't remember. Guys in the chat, what was the score? And
it was 24-10.
It was not.
Yeah, I don't think I was gonna say I remember watching it and seeing Chuba involved early, so I don't think it was like a blowout factor thing. But I like both of these running backs. If you're playing the showdown, I don't even hate getting both of them in the same lineup. Obviously, it's tough sledding against the Saints, but this offense just isn't very good, and they are going to run the ball 25 plus times.
Yeah, let's jump over to the Saints. We have a running back situation as well in some ways here. I always like to focus in on the running back usage because it's really important. I want to know if the backup running back is legit, if they're being used. In week one for the Saints, Kendre Miller was out and they had Tony Jones Jr., TJJ as the backup. Not a very good backup.
No.
So what ended up happening is Jamal pretty much got all of the snaps, all of the running back snaps, and pretty much all of the carries, the running back carries. There were some other carries mixed in for other, wide receivers and stuff like that. But for the most part, it was all Jamal Williams. Was not targeted very frequently.
No, I mean, I think the Titans do a decent job, or they did a decent job in that game against Jamal. Obviously he was the chalk play or one of the chalk plays in week one and just didn't pan out. But Kendre Miller, I think is legit. We need to see if he's active. He's on the field currently warming up, but they did activate Tony Jones Jr. off of the practice squad again. So he is going to potentially, he's going to be in the lineup. So we'll see. We have to wait a little bit. So almost probably half an hour here until we see inactives. But yeah, it's tricky. I think Jamal's in a good spot though.
If Kendre's not in this game, I think you pretty much have to play Jamal. Like Saints defense is a really strong play here and correlates really nicely with Jamal. So you got to play him. Yep. Jamal's in a much better spot. People who are down on him from last week, as you remember, we were not playing Jamal last week because the Titans, the same reason we were off Kelly when everybody was making him the chalk this week, all we said was, listen, that Titans defense, you can't run on them. We didn't play Kelly this week for that reason. Right. We didn't play Jamal Williams last week for that reason. So
yeah,
this is different. Bobbywow, this team doesn't stop the run. There's nothing good about Carolina's defense.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think the Saints are going to have to air it out against the Panthers at the end of the day. Carr's fully capable. I agree with Josh, but I mean, this should be Jamal Williams up the gut for a couple touchdowns, seal the victory. Yeah, I love Jamal.
Yeah, he's this is a touchdown spot for Jamal. You bet the over on touchdowns on him as well. So it looks like Tony Jones Jr., if they elevate him off the practice squad, which Kendre probably not going to play, that eliminates that question mark. At wide receiver, it's pretty much three guys. It was interesting that Rashid Shaheed was the sexy wide receiver. You got Olave, who's the stud, and Mike Thomas last week was sort of in a I'm gonna call it a possession, sort of low upside kind of a role. But I gotta tell you guys, I've been thinking about this all day, and this could go any way. Mike Thomas could all of a sudden just catch 2 touchdowns in a game. I don't see him like catch and running it for 70 yards, but he could just be the guy in the red zone and catch a couple tutties. Rashid Shaheed's the deep ball guy, but Olave could beast as always. That's what Olave is supposed to do. He's the big play guy too. So all three of these wide receivers are super in play. It's difficult actually for me to narrow it down, but one positive thing is this version of the Saints team does not have 4 other wide receivers that are like popping up. Taysom, what was our original turd?
Traquan Smith.
Yeah, Traquan Smith style.
Yep.
Traqueezy style, just coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And putting up. They don't have those guys.
No, you're not worried about a little Jordan Humphrey or somebody like that, who looked great yesterday, by the way. Yeah, it's pretty much these 3 guys, and yeah, I mean, Olave is a stud. I like Shaheed, but the way this slate sort of sets up for Showdown, anyways, is the salary isn't a huge it's Olave being in the captain isn't that hard to get to.
That's what I know. It's almost too easy to put Olave there.
Right? It almost feels like, okay, this is too easy.
It's concerning. It's concerning. It feels wrong.
Yep.
I was just making lineups going, man, I throw Olave in here and it's fine. Because there's not that many studs.
I like Jamal here, obviously. I do think that they will pass the ball. You know what I mean? At least early. I think that they're going to win the South, and they want to get these guys their touches and be, even though if they should be up, I don't know, who knows? Maybe maybe Vegas knows more than us, and Carolina is going to be confident today.
Yeah, you know what? You can't knock it. They said that the Patriots were going to be competitive last night, and they kind of were. Yeah. So I was surprised about that. I was surprised about a lot of things. Juwan Johnson looks like he's got that role locked down. People were worried about like Jimmy Graham or Foster Moreau. None of that affected anything. Juwan Johnson looks like a solid every week guy that is going to be like every other tight end, get the 5 targets. Every once in a while, it'll include a touchdown. Yeah, I mean, he's a former wide receiver turned tight end, right? They brought in Foster Moreau to play that sort of blocking type guy. Played 30% of the snaps last week. I think we'll see that again. He could end up maybe, falling in the end zone, but Johnson is the upside play, I think, at tight end and obviously priced like that. I'm going to bring up the Showdown analysis sheet for this game, but I have to tell you guys, I don't think it's relevant here. It's almost like I don't want to even look at it. Right. Because this is an analysis of 2 completely different versions of these 2 teams. Yeah. Whatever Carolina was last year, that's different than now. Yeah. The Saints under a Derek Carr regime is not quite the same as whatever the hell they've had the last couple of years. I think the one thing you can look at here though is like defensively, right? Like these defenses haven't changed a ton. So you can see that wide receiver against the Panthers is sort of the way to go when it comes to captains. Yeah. Well, against the Panthers, there you go. Wide receiver. So, I mean, it just jumps to Olave. I'm not ready to make this call yet because I haven't made enough lineups, but I think yes. I think so too. Based on the ease of making a lineup. So
it depends on how much too, right?
Yeah. Like build lineups for the script, or what you think is going to happen. Because I think the same thing can be said for I don't know what you said on your 2-gamer today, but the same sort of thing is there, right? Like you got to build for what you think is most likely to happen, and that might mean you leave $1,000 on the table. What I was saying is in that flex, you really have to look at when you have that salary left and it's 5.5K. You literally need to look all the way down to 3,800 and say, which of these individuals will score the most fantasy points, rather than just I got to Tetris together the best projected. At some point, it's just which of these people will score the most, and you'll see they're all kind of the same. There's not much of a difference between Elijah Moore and Michael Thomas and Rashid Shaheed. Any one of them could do it. Yep. So I don't put too much into this one.
this week, just because these are kind of new teams. So let's talk about and I'm trying to hammer through this early game. A, because the contests are less sexy, and B, because it's coming up soon. So this is a DFS Up North sheet. So Josh, will stick with you here.
Yes.
And take me through the captain position here, starting with the most obvious, Chris Olave.
Yeah, right. Olave is the most obvious, and like you said, it's not hard to build a lineup. So for me, I like Olave the most. After that, I think obviously, like we said, Jamal is intriguing. I don't know that Carr can get there. I think he's a good quarterback, but I just don't know at this price, like what he's, especially with what they have for receivers. Like he's only throwing it to 3 guys. If Olave is not the guy, then maybe it's Shaheed or Thomas. I just don't know that Carr can necessarily outscore them on DraftKings. We said Wally Williams is going to. I kind of like a Miles Sanders captain here. I know that that's not great, but I like a Miles Sanders captain with a bunch of Saints after that. Even the Saints defense. He's got the highest projected rushing total. He's the second highest touchdown prop guy. Like, I think that is one way to maybe get different on this slate. But then you got Thomas, right? Rashid Shaheed. The Saints D, I think, is puntable. They're good. They had 3 picks last week. So if they take one of those to the house, I think you could see it. But they're a little expensive.
I mean, I don't think salary matters. I like the Saints defense choice right there. You know, low owned and whatever.
I don't know. They're not going to be low owned.
It's not going to be like more than 5%.
Yeah, like for what the odds of it happening are in this type of game, I think they will be over what that percentage is my guess. So obviously we don't have ownership in here right now, but I think they'll be 10-ish%.
Honestly, I'm just scripting this game out. The way I think it's going to go down is that the Saints absolutely dominate this game.
Sure.
So like that doesn't mean that will happen, but if you're asking me, like, and people a lot of times you say script it out. So here I'm going to paint a script for you guys.
Sure.
The Saints are dominating defensively. Jamal Williams doing well because the Saints are dominating. You know, Bryce Young throwing interceptions and turning it over and looking like he's supposed to, a rookie.
Sure.
You know, the Panthers have some moments. It's a home game for them, but it's a big spot. It's prime time. It's a rookie QB, and there's a lot of reasons to think that a rookie quarterback will not do well in that level of pressure. If this game was in New Orleans, I would be locked into that.
Sure.
The only thing is, being this is a home game for the Panthers, it's not that way. And Joel, I did do that one earlier today, just for the DFS Army subscriber members. So if you're in there, you could see that on my channel. We did a 2-game breakdown, and in live optimizer build. A lot of what we do in DFS Army, again, when you're subscribed, is we're teaching how to use these tools, and we get into in depth, and we do a lot of live streams with a lot of participation. So hopefully you're in there, and you can certainly check that out from earlier today. There's no time left though, but so getting back to the game script of this one, guys. I don't know, Bobbywow. You're a contrarian thinker. Paint me the scenario where the Panthers are doing well. How does that happen? How does that game look to you?
I mean, to me, it's kind of like last night where they slow the game down quite a bit.
Yeah.
You know, we saw the Patriots try to slow the game down, and they were competitive because of it. I think if the Panthers are competitive, it's because it's turned into a kind of like a grinding, slow-paced affair. So, again, that would favor the running backs to me, and I really like Josh's Miles Sanders call for that reason. So yeah, that is the scenario where Carolina is competitive. It's hard for me to envision them in a shootout with Derek Carr, like keeping pace.
Yeah, and as much as like Derek Carr doesn't turn the ball over, I think that if the Panthers are going to be in the game, weirdly, the Panthers defense has got to play well. Right. So feasibly in those lineups, you could play a Sanders captain with the Panthers D, and that's maybe the contrarian way that you get there.
Oh, it's so contrarian.
Oh, it's going to be, I mean, that's Millie Maker winner right there.
Let me check and see if that's crazy talk or not. Hold on.
It is.
Smokey says it's crazy talk.
It is.
Anyway, so all right, let's get into the flex plays and how we afford some of this. And do we need any turds on this slate for this Saints Panthers game? So of course, Olave, Derek Carr, big play. We didn't talk about this, but on Derek Carr, you got to stack
better
him
in the
with
flex.
It's not one; it's a double stack. If he's going to be the captain, he has to be with 2, not 1, 2.
Yep.
If he's in the flex for me, I'm stacking. You have to have at least 1, and I probably want 2 in the flex also. If he's in there, he's pulling 2 guys with him.
Yep.
But with that being said, Carr is a stud. Who wrote this? He's a good.
I write that it's. I might have put in there that I only wrote this to piss Geek off.
You only write it to annoy me. Although Derek Carr on the Jets is a Super Bowl.
Get him over there.
Can't. We got Rodgers.
Efficient. He is.
He's a good QB. Derek Carr is a good QB.
Thank you.
So, all right. But we can't just play the studs. We got to be able to afford a lineup.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders, Mike Thomas at 8,400. Sanders at 86. Jamal at 88. I mean, it's very easy to afford whatever you want. I feel like Olave. How do you not put Olave in every lineup when you could just afford it?
Right. I mean, the only reason you do it is, like I said, to be contrarian. You can't,
Shaheed had the big game last week, but I actually think he's probably overpriced here at 7K compared to his usual role. Like, I don't think that's a good maybe cash game play.
No, he's an air yards guy. I mean, Nico Collins is a better possession type receiver than Shaheed, but Shaheed's ADOT was 16.5 last week. I think that's going to be similar to what he sees most weeks.
That's why he's going to be
very much boom or bust.
Makes it more fun in tournaments than someone like Michael Thomas, who's just low depth possession guy. But let's see here. DJ Shark. I already talked about. I don't think this is a good matchup for DJ Shark.
Nope.
Just a tough matchup. Hayden Hurst was the guy last week. We paying 6,200 for him.
The hard part is that, again, salary doesn't necessarily matter. So you just almost need touchdown scorers, right? Like, is Hayden Hurst the most likely guy to score a touchdown besides Miles Sanders? Yes.
Yeah, I could see it.
The thing to me is that, Bryce Young threw almost 40 passes last week in a really, really garbage game.
Yeah.
So the pay down to me is some of these younger Carolina Panthers wide receivers. And I would include Hayden Hurst in that as well, just because, we could see, especially on DraftKings, those receptions pile up. I mean, 40 times throwing the football last week. That's a lot when you scored 10 points.
They ran a lot of plays last week.
There are some interesting pay downs here. So you want to talk about affordability. Number one. So I don't think it's a good, but you're right, Bobbywow. He did throw a ton. They let him throw a ton. And I think that's good that the Panthers are doing that. They should be doing that. Let the kid throw. Like, you're probably not going to win a lot of games this year. Don't constrain the quarterback. Let him do his thing. And you got a lot of these cheap names that are catching passes for these guys. But, Juwan Johnson, talk about it. I think Saints defense is great. Chuba at 5K. He's probably got odds of plus 370 to plus 400 to score a touchdown.
Plus 280, Geek. Plus 280.
Oh, that's not bad.
Better than Hurst, actually.
I would take, if you give me a head-to-head on those two, I'll take the Hurst side. Can we do that?
Plus 350.
Yeah, I'll take the Hurst side on that. I think that's not right.
Turd hat bet.
Yeah, well, somebody got to be wearing a turd hat. There were no turds on Thursday.
No.
That's for the Thursday show.
That's right.
We're saving it. I don't want to spend too long on this game. I could just chat away, but we actually have to hammer through this.
Mingo and Marshall, though, are the two guys that I'm interested in.
Why Marshall? Marshall should not be on the field that much.
But I still think he ends up with 50% of the snaps. It would surprise me. Yeah, it would surprise me if he was he's shot way down just because DJ Chark is healthy.
My Kevin, my FF football geek super punt is Keith Kirkwood here. Catches a bomb, touchdown.
Oh my Lord.
That's not happening.
They threw to him once last week.
Hold on.
Hell no, fuck with your shit.
And then Giovanni Riosi scores 2, fullback dive at the goal line.
Oh my goodness.
This is getting out of hand.
All right, let's keep it real here. Jonathan Mingo, though, Bobbywow. Let's bring it back to Jonathan Mingo, who was on the field a ton. Listen, it was inefficient last week, but I think he's going to be out on the field the whole time, and he'll get targets for cheap.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Bryce Young doesn't want to throw to Adam Thielen, right? He's old. He's an old man. They don't connect.
Adam Thielen was a great connection with him in training camp.
I think he was demanding. At some point, we're going to see it.
Yeah. We have to. We just have to. But he looked so bad last week.
Yeah.
Got to play some young, but I mean these prices are crazy. It's not going to feel good to click the button. Let's click some buttons here real quick, and then we're going to move on. So, building a and click some buttons.
Let's do it.
Going to build sort of a chalky lineup here, right? We want Olave. We want Jamal. I think Saints defense is something that belongs in this lineup, right? 57-50 left. Sanders, Mingo,
Boom.
print it.
There it is.
Done.
That's cash money in the bank. I didn't even play either quarterback in that one.
I love that lineup.
No quarterback in here. Got to do a different version that has a quarterback in it. Yeah, there it is. Mingo could have had a big game.
Yes, he had a drop.
DJ Shark is limited. Yeah, I mean, you're kind of like that's what needs to happen. DJ Shark needs to actually physically come out of the game.
Yes,
for
there's
Taraji.
Probably a 70 or 80% chance of that.
Yeah, he gets hurt like more than 50% of the time. Yeah, he's hurt. He's hurt frequently, to say the least. Okay, let's move on to game number 2. This is, actually it's a pretty fun contest here. This $10 one, but whatever.
Yeah.
Let's move on to whatever. Can only do what we can do. Game number 2. Steelers home taking on the Browns. I believe this one has a 2-point spread right now. And again, this is another one. Browns -2. They're on the road. Steelers looked terrible last week. Bobbywow, you did this breakdown. So take us through this. First of all, give me just an overview of the game. Did the Steelers bounce back here? Did they look worse last week than they are? That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's hard for me. It's hard for the Steelers to look any worse. So I think we start with that. But the Browns are good defensively. Myles Garrett is a freak, and Kenny Pickett looked as bad as you can look. So it'll be interesting. I think the thing to watch is Amari Cooper, whether or not he plays. But either way, like to me, this Browns team should have no issue taking care of the Steelers. I'm surprised that it's as close as it is.
Yeah, Vegas sees it different. And everybody's right. The big information, the big news on this game, will he, won't he? Amari Cooper hurt the gurn the other day. And now we don't know if he's going to give it a go. He's in pain. I don't know Amari Cooper is this guy who like plays through pain. He is out a lot. Like if he starts to get some leg stuff, he usually does not play, but we'll see tonight. Don't know. Couple of interesting phenomenon from week 1. Let's take a look at some of the usage numbers here. And Bobbywow, what do you think of the Najee Harris, Jalen Warren split in week 1?
Yeah, it's interesting. It really is. I think, part of it to me was the game script, but at the same time, I think Najee's kind of run his course a little bit in Pittsburgh. It feels like they're starting to get a little antsy with his production, and Jalen Warren has some explosiveness that Najee doesn't have. So I think there's some legitimacy to it. I wrote it up in the notes, a couple of different times, but I don't think that's a fluke.
Right.
A lot of that was garbage time. Like most of the game was garbage time last week.
To be fair,
I'm having a hard time like separating those two things.
Yeah, but I guess to me it's like you got this Browns team that's going to be good against the run. And Jalen Warren's in there as a guy that can catch passes and make explosive plays. Why would that change in this game, compared with last week? That's the way I see it.
I don't think they need to pay Najee. Najee has done nothing for anybody to think that anybody's going to pay him anything. That is not happening. So, all right. Pittsburgh loses Deontay Johnson, and so we have now targets that got to go somewhere, right? Deontay is gone, son. Sorry. And last week, Allen Robinson stepped up into the role and got peppered with those targets that Deontay Johnson normally gets. That's pretty cool.
From the graveyard.
I need to just sit here and wear like those dad joke sunglasses for the show. You know, like those guys that just sit around and just tell the jokes with straight faces. We should just do that.
That's good.
So.
Yeah, hey Rob, you look competent for the first time in like 3 or 4 years.
Man, since when he played for the Bears.
Dusty Allen Robinson comes out of retirement, gets a bunch of targets. So I don't know what to do with him. I think George Pickens is the exciting, catch a touchdown guy. And then you've got Patty Freiermuth. And I think that Freiermuth and Pickett are like the secondary beneficiaries of Deontay being gone, more so than I think Allen Robinson will get his targets, but I think those other guys we have to put them in as beneficiaries as well, especially Freiermuth, who is going to operate in that same part of the field. Calvin Austin the third steps in. He gets some targets last week as well. He's a turd. What's his salary on DraftKings?
More expensive than you would like.
Like he's
around
not
5K,
in the turd.
4K, 5K.
What?
No, he's not in the turd zone. And he's got some buzz. There is some projected exposure on that man. He's 4,800 on DraftKings.
Man, I don't know about that. So what's weird for me about that is we have super bargains on the other side of this. So let's jump over to actually just important to note that it looks like Connor Hayward came in last week and played some snaps at tight end, but that was because Freiermuth got knocked out of the game for a short period of time. He got dinged up. So I don't want to confuse. I don't even know if people can see it. I need to blow this thing up a little bit so you can see it better. But I don't want you to think that Connor Hayward is all of a sudden like the TE2 or Darnell Washington, who I believe is a rookie. What happened is just Freiermuth got banged up. That's why he was only on the field 50% of the time. Get rid of that. He'll be on the field a ton in this game. All right. Shifting over, Bobbywow, to the Cleveland side here. Nick Chubb is just getting all the run. Again, last week was a bit of a blowout for them. And so you got Jerome Ford, who played a little bit of garbage time minutes against the Bengals. Game was never in question, no matter what you say. The game was never in question. The Bengals were just a 0 last week. Do you think that the usage of Jerome Ford at that 40% level continues, or was that a fluke based on the game?
To me, that's more of a fluke. I think, Nick Chubb's the guy. If Jerome Ford's capable, and, you'll see when we get to the notes that he's like basically min price. So, I don't think his usage goes fully away, but this is different than the Steelers situation where, Chubb he's the clear guy here. Ford got blowout run.
Yeah. And Cam Hayward is out for the Steelers, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you would think that Chubb is going to run all over these guys. The touchdown prop for Chubb, we checked it earlier. It's anywhere from plus 100 to minus 115. I think he's going to score it, but just know that the odds makers, if you think he's got a better than 50% chance of scoring a touchdown, you can make a lot of money by betting that over at your local sports book. But what it also means, and we focus on the positive, some focus on the negative, it also means that he's got a 50% chance of not scoring a touchdown. And you know what happens when Nick Chubb does not score a touchdown, right?
Nowhere near the nuts.
That's correct. He does not make the nuts. So he's got a 50% chance. Kenny G, we heard about the fucking Warren captain for all the monies. It is not going to win. I will fucking...
Whoa. Okay, we said
that. Hold.
Someone said this about Swift last time we talked on this podcast.
Did it? Did I?
Ooh,
did I rip
Swift?
I
remember hearing that.
Are you sure?
He was on the sheet, but then we got some backlash from. I can't remember who was on.
Are you sure that was me?
Geek, no,
that was the week one. That wasn't week 2. That was week 1, not when the injury was there.
We didn't know anything. Now we know everything.
Yeah, that was week 1. By the way, Swift now, if you have him on your fantasy team, you're so happy.
Yeah.
It's about to tear up the NFL.
Just like another guy, Kyron Williams, who's on my season.
Oh, Kyron Williams. Oh, my goodness.
If anybody wants him.
He's not available in your league. Everybody picked him up last week. It's too late.
I drafted him.
You did?
Come on.
Yes.
LA Rams are.
I told you guys, Akers was on his way out. Nobody listened.
I did not listen to you. I was like, I love Akers.
Okay, hold on. I want to say, because I'm just watching the chat. We're like, and this happens, I feel like, every week, or it just seems like when there's injuries and then guys get buzz and things like that with guys like Warren or Austin or whoever else. Like, right? Like, these NFL teams are still going, like, just because a guy is new and in a spot does not mean that he's necessarily going to produce. So you have to sometimes see through the excitement or the Twitter buzz sometimes about these new guys. Like, they're backups to begin with. Like, let's not forget that.
Definitely. All right. Speaking of backups, it looks like Amari Cooper will not play tonight.
Well,
now a couple of guys asked
Stefanski's saying he thinks he's going to play now.
Yeah, Joe Cabot or whatever the reporter for the Browns says there is optimism that he's playing.
All right. That makes it tougher because we don't have the ability to evaluate injuries. And so, like, I don't know. I don't know. A lot of people are going to, how do we deal with the situation? And the answer is, I don't know. How do you deal with this? Every year this comes up. And I have not figured out an all-inclusive solution for how to deal with a question like this.
There's not an all-inclusive solution. That's part of the problem. Yeah, I mean, we just got to monitor it. If Cooper's in, it definitely takes some of the glitz and glamour away from Elijah Moore, who I think is a smash play if Cooper's out. And same thing with DPJ. I think it takes, some of the upside away from him. So even if Cooper's limited, like, I'm not excited about playing Amari Cooper per se, but it does a lot to impact the guys around him, no matter what.
Yep.
I think you reduce the projection expectation. He can still be in some lineups, and I think this is kind of right. You just play a little bit of Cooper, but then the rest of your lineups kind of look like if Cooper was out. I still think you load up on Eli Moore. I still think you load up on these other pieces. Maybe not Marquise Goodwin anymore, if but because it's Marquise Goodwin who's kind of like the filler guy who is going to sit there. So, like, let's say Cooper just plays, but he's kind of banged up and a distraction rather than actually able to make an impact in the game. Well, it still helps Moore, and it still helps the people's wide receiver, and it still helps David Njoku.
Agreed.
Yep.
And Njoku has, by the way, owned the Steelers throughout his career. So, like, let's load up on Njoku tonight, boys and girls. Boys and girls. Load up on Njoku tonight. He has owned this team. Weirdly, on the 2-game slate, FanDuel has Njoku as the cheapest of all the tight ends.
He's so cheap on FanDuel here, too.
It's weird.
FanDuel's the worst site.
FanDuel actually priced the 2-game slate way better. Way better. They went nuts. They put Chubb at 10K. They said you cannot play Chubb and Olave together. They did a better job.
Yeah, I haven't been on FanDuel yet.
So anyway, continuing on. So we covered pretty much the usages here. I don't think we need to get like so crazy with Ford, but I think isn't Jerome Ford 200?
He's like right around there, maybe 400.
Yeah. So Jerome Ford is a very, very legitimate turd on this.
Yeah.
Let's look at the cheat sheet. Little Bobbywow action.
Bobby Millies.
I'm always a little nervous when Geek first sees the captains that he's going to be like, "Whoa, what? This guy?"
You're always right. Like, what do you care what I say? I'm like wrong so much. Joel S. If Cooper percentage goes, yeah, I mean that's exactly what it won't. It won't go below 10 though. It will always be too high.
Sure.
These situations, like unless it's last second. It usually, like, if he's playing, it's like 40%. And then you're like, oh, man, now I just want to under leverage it. It's very difficult.
But I love that, though, right? Because that speaks to there's no one-size-fits-all approach. So that's perfect. You'll keep monitoring the situation and, play it as it comes to you.
Would I make a rule to exclude? These rules just rule you out of wins. If you played the Showdown last night, it was a combination of both running backs from the same team with Mostert at the helm and Salvin Ahmed in the flex. So do not make rules to disallow those situations. That is not going to. It's going to rule you out of winning.
I said that in my Sunday night video last night. That just quit making rules. Like,
yeah, well, some rules are okay. Like stacking the QB is good. But, like, don't make too many rules.
Naturally, it's just you're going to get those lineups without having to make too many rules.
Yeah. In terms of what happened in the first quarter, he 10 and came back. I don't even know what Nolan's talking about here. Roshan. What is he talking about? He's messing me up here. Love Nolan, but I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't read it. Okay. Captain spot. Chubb, very obvious.
To me, and I put it in the notes, and I'm gonna change that a little bit, but smash in cash and then be underweight in tournaments on Chubb. That to me is the play.
Deshaun Watson, totally good as a, he ran it last week. Fucking A.
Look great.
Love seeing that.
Yep.
And by the way, in a game that they had under control, but he's running.
Just balling out there.
I like it. He's running like the cop showed up at the massage parlor.
Oh, jeez.
Half an hour into a session. He's out there just booking it.
Oh man. To me, he's probably the most sensible captain play and FanDuel MVP play. I know we don't typically like quarterbacks, but he does it with his legs and does it through the air too. He looked good last week.
Najee Harris, man. Of course, he belongs in the discussion for MVP and captain, but he's fucking terrible. I mean, the big games from Najee Harris. This might be it tonight. Could happen. I've been waiting for it.
There's been one before.
He had one,
and you can't say that for Kenny Pickett. So that's why
that's true. That's true.
Can you imagine seeing naked Deshaun Watson just running down the street?
Oh my god!
like an elephant trunk swinging in the wind.
I wanted so badly to write in notes that you could run out Watson naked in your lineups tonight. I couldn't do it.
Kendre officially out for the Saints. So if you didn't need to know this, you pretty much want to have a lot of exposure to Jamal Williams tonight. All formats, 2 game, 1 game, whatever the fuck you're playing. Get a lot of Jamal in there. All formats. Again, the visual.
Jesus.
For anybody who gets it.
Oh my god. I think I'm gonna bomb.
Kenny Pickett. Sorry, I don't know what's happening today. Kenny Pickett, not very good. He's getting that 1.5 star. I think that's appropriate. I don't really know that I want to play a lot of Kenny Pickett. I feel like if Kenny Pickett's doing it, it's the wide receiver who's going to benefit the most. He doesn't run. Again, Deshaun Watson does run. He could run for a touchdown. I don't really think that Kenny Pickett is going to run for a touchdown. So it makes him less likely to be the nuts captain. George Pickens, though, sure.
Yeah.
Big play guy.
Love George
Elijah
Pickens.
Moore, I'm into that.
Can you tell me how many games? Tell me how many games that Kenny Pickett threw more than 1 touchdown last season?
0.
0 games. 0 games. He stinks. They should be starting Trubisky.
Stop here we go.
Enough with
okay,
Trubisky.
but we digress. All right.
Stop it. I mean,
Pickens is a great
You know
play.
what's funny? All the sharps were picking Pickett to win NFL Week 1 against the 49ers. I was like, what are they seeing? So, but maybe they do know something. Maybe he's better, but we just didn't see it yet because it was last week against the 49ers. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I just don't see it. I mean, he was terrible last year.
Wait, here we go. Murtaugh Thins is busting with the corrections. Kenny Pickett rushed for 2 touchdowns in a game last year?
I think the first game of the season, I think. Or one of the first games.
Color me incorrect.
No, we said throwing. No games throwing touchdowns with more than 1, but
I meant rushing for. I didn't see he was yeah. I mean, I need money. Think Zach Wilson is better than Pickett. I don't know about that. Again, I think you guys are taking it too far. I don't know how good or bad Kenny Pickett is. He did not play well last year, but he was a rookie. You don't expect it. This year, week 1, we saw the 49ers. Tough defense. I don't know. Let's see what happens this week against the division rival. Again, the odds makers have installed a very close game here. This is not where the Steelers are supposed to blow them out. How are the Steelers scoring? They're probably scoring with the run, which is why Njoku is interesting, or Freiermuth for me. You didn't put Freiermuth on the list here, which is interesting, but Jalen Warren made it. Jalen Warren, Bobbywow?
Hey, Swift was on the captain on my sheet last week. Jalen Warren's there for a similar reason. Okay. A dart. He's a dart. Don't go nuts on Jalen Warren.
We should have been higher on Swift on the Thursday night football game. It's not last week. That was this week. On Thursday night, we should have been high. I should have been higher on him than I was. We should have been higher on him, but maybe it was just me. I had lots of Swift, but like not enough. I wasn't sure that he was, I had Penny. It turns out it was all Swift. And hindsight, I don't know.
Yep.
I thought about that one a lot after the game going, why wasn't I higher on him?
But I didn't have the rest of the pieces right.
We got the no turds part right.
Kirk Cousins down.
Turd hat bet for me. Turd hat bet. Kenny Pickett is not in the nuts lineup on DraftKings.
I'm not taking that on. You want to take that one on up north?
No, I like that. No, I'm on.
I'm on board with that too. There's no disagreement. I'm agreeing with that. I don't see Kenny Pickett in the nuts.
Okay, just want to make sure we were clear on that. All right.
Yeah,
sounds good.
100% agree with you.
I'm playing Calvin Austin in the 2-gamer. I just made a lineup on FanDuel. He's too cheap.
What's the talk about Calvin Austin? Tell me about this talk. What is the hype with this kid?
Kenny Pickett loves him. He says, he's everywhere he needs to be. The Browns have mentioned him specifically and saying they're going to eliminate him from the game plan. I don't get it. I think the dude was a 4th-round pick last season. I think his first game played was week 1 of this year. He had 6 targets and 6 catches for a modest amount of yards. Like, to me, I don't know. The ownership feels too high and the price feels too high on the Showdown slate to be interested there. But that's where I'm at.
The problem for me is like Allen Robinson sucks. Like, so what are you gonna do?
That's a fair point.
Hell yeah, fucking Steve. That's what I'm talking
Steve.
about. Fuck yeah.
Love
nice
that.
work, my man. Hell
We're
yeah.
gonna be
And
actives here. Hold on.
Cohiba, man. I like it.
Did we say Kendre Miller's out? I wasn't.
Yeah.
Kendre is out. So again, load up on Jamal Williams. It's just there's no one else.
Yep.
We didn't talk about Taysom Hill. Tay.
Because he's bad.
Forgot to talk about him on the previous.
He had a couple of carries. I don't know. He didn't do anything.
Gotta
really.
play Taysom Hill. I just on the 2-gamer, you gotta play Taysom. He's gonna score a touchdown in any game. I don't care what you say. He could throw for a touchdown. He can run for a touchdown, or he can get a 0.
That's his.
Yeah, he just can. All right, so going on through here, I don't see a lot of bargain priced players.
Not in this game. David
Was
Bell.
it going to be
David
Marquise
Bell.
Goodwin? Was this the play until Amari Cooper came back?
No, none of these were the play. I said of all the capable bodies down here, Marquise Goodwin is probably the most capable. But
he runs
not a
a
vote of
1,000 miles
confidence
an
for
hour.
me. Right, he's quick. I think Jerome Ford, if you're going to punt, Jerome Ford is the guy.
Yep.
I mean, that price is ridiculous for Jerome Ford. This guy got 48%. I don't care that it was a blowout. This week could be a blowout.
Yeah.
It could.
It's the
And look,
difference.
he didn't
Steelers are
catch any
terrible.
passes last week, I don't think. He's a capable pass catcher. So he's got that PPR upside too, if he's going to be in.
And this guy was a buzz guy in camp as well, by the way, and a preseason buzz guy. So that's the guy. Like, he's playing the Kareem Hunt role, and we don't know for 100% certainty that the team is like, nope, we're going to give 90% of the touches to Chubb. We're just assuming that based off of no evidence, including week 1, where they didn't do that. So Jerome Ford for 400 is a fucking crime.
Yeah.
Well, not
Not
to
just-
mention, Geek, you talk about it all the time. Running backs get hurt, right? I mean, that's the other part of the equation. Running backs get hurt, and we hope Chubb doesn't.
Yeah.
But it's a thing that happens. We don't even see backup running backs at 400 on DraftKings very often. And this guy was in a bunch last week. So
yeah,
I'm
I
with you
don't understand
100%.
why he's priced at 400. Normally, the backup running back, you're paying 3,500, 4K for them, and that's not that great because they don't usually put up like a 12 or a 20. But at 400, he only needs to put up about 5 points, and
Right.
he's a pass catcher to like produce. And you're like, oh, I'm happy I played him. Here, I got a 5.
He's projected for 5. Yeah.
He should be in like all your lineups, I think, unless Marquise Goodwin is starting, in which case he becomes really interesting too. Like if Cooper is out and Marquise Goodwin is the starter at WR3, I've seen Marquise Goodwin with my own eyes catch a big touchdown pass multiple times over the course of his career.
I just don't think he will be. That's the problem with the Browns is you'll get a smattering of him, of David Bell, and then
Bell's good.
Tillman.
Too.
So many
I like
turds.
Bell. A lot of turds.
What do you like about Bell?
Here's the problem. Well, go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
I like Bell. I mean, he's a good pass catcher. He's done it before.
Is he Purdue? Where was he from?
Iowa State. Right?
Okay. I don't know. I don't mind. Here's the issue for me with these lower price guys, including Ford. I'm not jamming guys like Kenny Pickett and Najee Harris into my lineup. So you don't necessarily need to drop down that low. But I guess we'll see when we build lineups.
Purdue, you're right. Let's build a lineup here.
All right. Let's jump over.
This game's starting in an hour.
I kind of want. Yeah, that's right. Well, guy. Yeah, for the 7:15 game, that one's coming up real soon. But we got this one here, the 8:15. Oh, also a $10 contest. Okay. All right. So first thing I'm going to do is throw Ford in the flex.
God.
And the reason I'm doing that is because once you've done this,
do whatever.
And you're like, oh, what's my average remaining? Oh yeah, I can play everybody that I want.
And
now
I don't
there's
want
no
to
limitations.
From.
You want Chubb up top, or how about Elijah Moore up top? I love this. Why? Because now I'm just going to click 1, 2, 3. Wow, I couldn't get. I wanted to see if I can get like a Najee or a Kenny Pickett in there. I don't even love them, but I kind of like this, guys. Look at that.
I don't mind that.
It just like comes together on its own. There's probably a version of this where I could squeeze Nick Chubb into the captain and have no issues.
Yeah.
And you only need the one turd, and it's only Jerome Ford. That's it. Once Jerome Ford is in your lineup, you can just do whatever you want. Now, I don't love this approach. By the way, we didn't talk about a couple things. Let's go back to this real quick, but I think the kickers are much more in play in a game like this. Is a low-scoring, divisional, NFC North, gross shit fest more often than not. That's the way these games go. And who benefits from that? Defense, but also kickers. Kickers do really well in these environments. So do not sleep on kicker. I'm like Bill Parcells. I don't want to say the name. Just like, who's the kicker? Chris Boswell, Dustin Hopkins, both actually good kickers.
Yeah.
Not that matters. But
and I hate playing defense, but this is a game where you definitely want to consider playing defense.
I feel like both defenses. No, can you favor one or the other?
The Browns for me, just because Kenny Pickett stinks.
Yeah,
but they're both definitely playable.
But also Steelers defense is really good sometimes. Steelers defense is one of those defense that occasionally puts up like a monster score at home. So
exactly.
You can't discount that.
Playmakers.
Remember NFL Week 1, 2022. Steelers defense out of nowhere gets like a 20, 25 in a matchup against a good team. You're like, not an expected. Yeah, it was like not an expected big score, but they did it. So you can't ever. They probably had Cam Hayward, but you can't ever discount that Steelers defense as well. I feel like we knocked this thing out, guys.
Yeah.
Two games, 1 hour. You don't see it every day.
Well, we're gonna see it next week.
Are they doing it again next week?
Yeah.
God, fucking A. I think they should always do it.
Why is that bad? This is great.
I think they should always do it, but here's what I request. Let me know in advance so we could like plan our like content around that. Like say we always do it, and then we're gonna have a way of handling it.
And then it's a little bit easier for us to let's see who's next week. Are next week's games any better?
They can't be worse.
Oh,
Just kidding.
Eagles, Bucks, Rams, Bengals.
Hell yeah, that's a fun one.
Whoa.
But,
Now-
but Joe Burrow is not going to play.
391 of you hanging out, watching this live. Do me a favor, smash the like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We appreciate that. That's all we really ask. If you're not signed up at DFS Army and you want to jump in, get all the VIP stuff, the optimizer, the tool. I mean, there's 2 games. There's nonstop football action. Our tools are like fire. And we're crushing showdowns. We've won every single one so far. Every single one so far this season. DFS Army avatars at the top. We're going to keep that going. I don't know if we can double it up tonight. We'll see. Let's double it up again and keep it going. So you guys want to check out DFS Army, of course. Go get signed up now. The NFL subscription monthly. I like the yearly because it's a 12-month package. You're always in. We got the props games, all that good stuff going on. And of course, if you want to check out the sports betting, the best sports betting tools that you can get, period. My bets, follow all that. Check out the Sharp app. Code DFSA20 gets 20% off at Sharp app. Sharp app's $49.99 a month. It's a community just like DFS Army. With that code, it's down to $39. Totally worth it. The Proptimizer tool, all the picks, the Sharp report, all that good stuff. And of course, again, at DFS Army, you got Bobbywow, DFSupNORTH, myself, Bob, the whole crew hanging out in the Discord, talking games. We are strategizing together. The crew here in the chat, Kanger and Nolan and all the guys who we're seeing in the chat participating, Mr. 5 Cent, all you guys, they're in the chat as well. We're always talking about the games.
If you become a DFS Army VIP and you're in part of the Discord, you will know what happens in the games before anyone else, because Kanger will tell you because he doesn't have like streaming TV. So that's worth the price of admission, right?
Kang is so fast
Drives
on
me
the
bonkers.
reports that I'm like, what is this lightning speed television that they have
Sorcery.
in Minnesota or
I have
Wisconsin or whatever hockey playing area of the world Kanger comes from? That like why is he always a minute ahead of me?
Literally, if it's like an important time in like a Vikings game or something, like I put my phone down and don't touch it because otherwise I will look at Discord and see what happens before it happens.
I have to turn it off too when I'm watching it. Like my team's on the goal line. Then I sneak a look. I like, did Rashad White get in? Yes, he's in. Oh, thank God.
Look.
Yeah. The DFS Army Discord, guys, come on. It's a family.
Worth the price.
It's like a
It's my
community.
safe place. Yes.
People are in there. By the way, for what you pay, they'll go, what do you pay? Yeah, it's a couple bucks a day. People are in there for 8-10 hours a day talking games, just having fun.
Yep.
This is the Gen level 10. So
And
make
Kenny
sure to
G
check
will
it out.
Tell you exact some random lineup that's going to win $1 million every week. So
100%. And then we cheer each other's wins on. That's part of the fun of DFS too. If I'm not winning, I want to know that somebody else is winning, and hopefully somebody else that I know, so I can be like, fuck yeah, I didn't get it, but he got 50K. Changed his life. I love it. All right. Good luck tonight, everybody. We will see you back here, same time, same place, Wednesday night, another Showdown breakdown. Good luck, everyone.